This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities.
Welcome back. Business insurance is vital to get right because it protects your company. It's a risk management tool, but how do you know what you need? To answer that question, we spoke to an expert.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, Accounting and Bookkeeping.
I'm Ziad Najjar. I came to the States when I was 19 to go to college, and here I am still here. I did not end up leaving. I actually had a long career in transportation and had some serious health issues, ended up with a kidney transplant and decided I needed to change it up a little. And one of my friends became a farmer's agent in a different state and had good things to say. At the same time that it happened, a recruiter contacted me when I was already thinking about him and came in that way. But because I'm coming in midway through my life, I did an acquisition. I didn't start from scratch. Well, really what I've noticed from my own experience is that I didn't understand what I had. I didn't understand what was covered and what was not covered. I didn't know that, if I had this much liability, that's not enough because my house is worth 5 times as much, or whatever the case may be. So what I like is that I actually sit down with customers, and I invite them here a lot, which is kind of uncommon for agencies, but I sit down with them and we go over line items. I'm like, look, I know this is boring, but you should know what you're paying for. And at the end, they're always grateful that we got to do that because now they understand how things work. And sometimes they say, you know what, I need to increase this. So it's important that you know what you're paying for. So it's not something you always think about. And in most of the time, what's stopping them is not necessarily the cost, or it's more, I don't have the time. You know how small businesses are. You're constantly doing something and leaving something behind. So a lot of times it's, I don't have the time. So I have to tell them, look, I just need about 20 minutes. I ask you a bunch of questions and I go off and do my thing. You don't have to worry about it. And I'll come back to you. So most of the time it's their time, but it is, we always try to highlight, a fire, something, an error that you made that now you have a lawsuit. Whatever the case may be, you should really consider all the angles of what you're doing. You finished a project and then it fell over. Now you have products liability. Many things like that we have to consider. And I usually put myself as the example. It's an agency. The most I can get is a paper cut. But I still have workers' compensation. I still have errors and omissions policy for $1 million. How often am I going to hit that? And so it's better, a lot of times it's so much cheaper to get that next level up and make sure that you can now at least breathe and not always be worried about everything. But yeah, the biggest hurdle is, I'm not going to take a lot of your time. Just let me ask you some questions and I'll do it and I'll come back to you with some results. Obviously, workers' compensation is required. If you have employees, you have to have it. The state requires it. But the things we run across most are liability, especially contractors, liability, and the business owner policies, which is liability plus your business property. And so those are the two we run across the most, but there are obviously many others, and there are different endorsements for, if you take digital payments, you should have the cyber coverage as well. So you can customize these things to fit the particular business you're trying to work on. Again, the important thing is to make the business owner understand why. Anything you're doing, you're liable for. I don't care if you're walking down the street, even if you're not a business owner. Anything you're doing, you're always responsible for as an adult. Just forget business owner. And so you can go into someone's home to do a small drywall repair, and it ends up that their electric was not installed right, and you now cause more damage. Well, now they have to bring in an electrician, etc. So that goes against your liability insurance unless you want to pay for that. And obviously you don't. So we have a business consultant. So she has liability, but she also has errors and omissions, because obviously if she trains people incorrectly. An HR consultant the same way. I have multiple contractors, multiple different trades. Same thing, liability. What you do obviously affects how much of the limit you want to get. I have some retail establishments, some dental offices, doctor's offices. There are many different industries that we get into, but there's really not any business I can think of that shouldn't think about protecting themselves. It's a consideration, certainly. Certain types of insurance, yes. Certain types of insurance, no. And with the insurance being regulated state by state, it depends. Example, Ohio does not have private workers' compensation. The state does. So it depends on the type of policy. A lot of my clients that are kind of on the border, say with Kentucky, with Ohio, with Illinois, the conversation I have with them from the beginning is, if you're going to go across the border, talk to me. Let's figure out what we need to do. And in some states, I actually have now, I'm dual licensed in another state so that I can help a client because they do require a separate policy in that state. So yeah, we always try to remind them of that. If you're going to expand, just let's have a quick conversation to make sure that you're protected when you go into another state. It goes two ways. The person who hasn't started yet, who has the business plan, typically their revenue projections are a shot in the dark. An educated guess, but a guess nonetheless. And so with that, usually I have a list of questions. I tell them, I can ask you the questions now, I can send you a fillable form, you can fill it out. But typically it's all the stuff that you have to do to start your business, from your certificate with the Secretary of State, your SS4 letter from the IRS, meaning when they issue you the federal ID number, employer ID number. What is your projected revenue? A description of what you're going to be doing. Because obviously if you juggle chainsaws on fire, I have to know that rather than if you just sit down and write things. So a detailed description is usually good. How are you going to market? What do you expect your customer base to be? Those are where we start. Depending on what they do, sometimes we get into the weeds a little bit more. If your business is already established, then it gets a little bit easier in that your projections, we don't ask for projections, we ask for prior. Let's go back 12 months. What have you done in those 12 months? How has your revenue been? How has your exposure been? Let's see, where have you gone? What have you done? What customers did you deal with? What type of work did you do? So yeah, it does get easier when they're already in business because you get more accurate answers. Really, actually, the business insurance side of things is what gets me excited. My staff handles all the personal stuff, and I only handle commercial pretty much, unless they need help. But what gets me excited is, again, knowing that I took that leap and how secure did I feel? Where was my safety net? Where did I need it to be? What were the things that worried me? What were the things I was comfortable with? And so what gets me excited is that now I understand the mentality and I understand what they need to know about and what I need to know from them. And there's not a lot of agents who write business policies. And so a lot of times I'm getting a call after they've made 6, 8 calls to different agencies that say, no, I don't do this. So it's another good part for me is that I'm helping a niche that's that's underserved.
Coming up, how the Lamco Federal Credit Union Board helps the company connect to their community.